If I asked you to close your eyes and picture in your mind what a retired person looks like, probably you'll picture somebody either in a hammock on a beach, in a hammock on a beach, or perhaps on the golf course. And if I asked you, where is this person located? Probably you're going to say Florida. Maybe Arizona, not the beach part, but Florida sort of has been the epitome of the retirement headquarters of America since like 1950. I was watching I was watching a mobster movie the other day, and it was set in like the 60s or 70s, and they were talking about how they dreamed to going down to Florida and playing golf and being retired. So it's been the retirement dream for a long time. It makes sense, right? Florida's got a lot going for it. They've got good weather, they've got low taxes, and it makes sense as a place you want to be. You want to get out of the snow, you want to get to a warmer environment and just enjoy your golden years. So obviously it makes sense to want to retire to Florida. But the costs have been going crazy lately, so does it still make sense to want to retire in Florida? So let's talk about what the real expenses to live in Florida are. I live in Florida, I own properties in Florida, and I pay taxes in Florida. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go over what sort of has been happening in Florida lately, tell you why the expenses are going up. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you my actual real numbers, my real expenses to live here in Florida. And then you can compare those to where you currently live and see if retiring in Florida is actually still a dream that is viable. Let's get into it right now.
Shut up and sit down.
Just in case you're new here, this, my friends, is the Retirement Mentality channel, a place where I want to change your mentality about retirement. We talk a lot about real estate investing, we talk about retiring early, and we talk about the mindset just to retire in general, to retire early, and things you need to do to get ready, to get prepared and do it the right way. I've made every mistake in the book, so I'm trying to save you guys from making some of those mistakes. I'm not going to make this a pros and cons video of living in Florida. I think everybody pretty much knows what they are. It's got nice weather, but it also has hurricanes. So does every other beach state this side of the Mason-Dixon line. Are we still allowed to say that? That just caused a controversy? I'm not sure. Just stick with me here. The pros and cons video has been done 1,000 times. We don't need to do that. I want to talk about the real numbers. Obviously, the biggest expenses in people's budgets are housing is always number one biggest expense. And then you've got taxes, depending on what kind of retirement income you're working with. You've got the insurance you're going to pay, homeowners insurance, car insurance, health insurance. I'm not going to get into health insurance in this video. You can obviously easily go on to an Obamacare calculator and figure out what your health insurance would be if that's something you wanted to try to figure out. So I'm not going to talk about that here. And transportation and food costs, I'm not going to get too much into those. I will talk about car insurance though, because it is more expensive here in Florida. Okay, let me set the stage for you here. I live in a smaller city. I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida. So it's a smaller area. It's not the Miamis and the Tampas and the Orlandos that probably most people think about when they think about retiring in Florida, or the villages, for instance. We're going to talk about the villages a little bit in this video. So I live in a smaller area, and I think the cost of living is a little bit lower here. I think the cost of housing, even though housing has exploded and everybody here just wants to complain about housing prices, it's still pretty low here to buy a beachfront or be a block or two from the beach. So we'll get into my actual expenses later, but I want to set the stage. I'm not in Miami. I'm not in Orlando. I'm in Panama City Beach, Florida. So when I do get into my numbers, understand that. So I'll talk a little bit about generalities of Florida here to begin with. Overall, the population of Florida in 2023 increased 1.6%, or a little over 325,000 new residents moving to Florida last year. So that was the second highest increase in population in the U.S. And I'm going to show you a table here quickly. I'll pop it in the screen here so you can look at it. So if we look at this table here, we'll look at the 10 fastest growing metro areas in the U.S. Number one is the villages. If you're not familiar with the villages, it's like it's a whole city of retirees. It's all 55 and over housing, and they're all retirees. It's one of the biggest ones in the nation. They're trying to do something similar here where I live, Margaritaville. But that's what the villages is. The next one is Lakeland, Winter Haven. That's down south of me. Also, then you've got you got Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Then Ocala, Florida, Port St. Lucie, Florida. And then you got Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama. So you can see some of the fastest growing places here in Florida. And the villages being number one is a big tip off. Even Lakeland too. That's like oldie moldy central in that area. So that is showing you that it's not just young families moving to Florida, the biggest demographic is going to be the retirees coming down here because you have to be 55 plus to move into the villages. And what does population growth mean? Population growth means increased competition, decreased supplies. It means more competition over housing, and it generally means higher inflation overall in all of your expenses across the board. Just higher growth and demand just kind of is a tide that lifts all prices, so to speak. Okay, so that's what the population has done in Florida lately. Let's talk about taxes. We all know Florida has no personal income taxes, but it's not a zero tax state. Florida makes up for those taxes through sales tax and through property taxes. So Florida has a 6% state income tax, and then some towns and municipalities can throw on a 1% or a 2% tax on top of that. A lot of the tourist areas throw on bed taxes and things that shouldn't hit the locals as much if you're coming here to live and to move here. The restaurants can get hit with the tourist taxes, and the hotels and the lodging and even all the Airbnbs and things can get hit with that. But overall, the sales tax averages out to just over 7% here in Florida. And then the property taxes is the other area. Florida's property taxes actually are pretty low. The average across the state of Florida is 0.8% of the value of your property. And that's off the tax assessed value, which a lot of times is lower than the price you actually pay for your house. A lot of times when you buy a new house, it'll automatically cause the assessor to go out there and they'll bump up the base of the value of your house. But it's 0.08% is the tax rate for the average tax rate for property taxes here in Florida. Just to give you an example, the national average of property taxes is 0.99%. So Florida is actually below that. So not having an income tax and having that low property tax is a pretty sweet deal. Maybe it's not going to be as bad as you thought. Let's wait till the end and we see the numbers here. Okay, so if that stuff doesn't sound too bad, what's all the hoopla that real estate or that the cost to live in Florida is exploding? Well, it's mainly the housing prices and the craziness that's going on with homeowners insurance. So I guess I'm not going to get into what kind of a percentage homes have increased in every municipality in Florida. In January, the median home price in Florida went up 4.5% year over year. So that's not crazy growth. It's just if you look at over the past 5 years, and you can do some Google research yourself. So if you're looking to live in whatever city, it's not going to matter what statistic I tell you about how much homes have increased. But they have gone up a lot. But what is going to affect more that I can speak more precisely on is homeowners insurance rates. And the problem here is after Hurricane Michael, which got us a couple years ago, and Hurricane Ian, which I think was last year down south around Tampa, St. Pete area, and all the other hurricanes everywhere on the planet, insurance companies have just had to pay out lots and lots of millions and billions of dollars. We've seen the headlines. Lots of insurance companies pulled out of California, I think mainly due to wildfires, not wildflowers. And the same thing here after a couple hurricanes. A lot of these insurers in Florida just said, screw it, man. We are out to greener pastures where they don't have hurricanes. DeSantis has said he's got some things in motion that's going to get more insurance companies coming back into Florida over the next 1 to 3 years. I think there's a couple already announcing they're coming back. So it'll be interesting to see if that reduces prices. I think we all know when prices go up, they rarely come back down. We just call it the new normal and we try to move on with our lives and just figure out how to afford everything. One of the other things that I'm not going to get into too much in this video is what's going on with the condo market. You know, you probably saw the headline of the condo building down around Miami that fell down because of bad construction. So they've required all condo buildings that are over 3 stories and built more than like 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I don't know what the actual number is. They now have to get these crazy inspections done that cost lots of money to get the inspections done. And then they have to fix all the problems. They have to keep certain amounts in their reserves. And a lot of these buildings have been underfunded and under repaired over the years. So it's causing huge spikes in homeowners association fees in condos. And then on top of that, the insurance rate's going up because the condo building has to carry homeowners, whatever they call it, insurance for the building, property insurance. So all those increases in their budgets, increases in their reserve accounts, increases in repairs, and increases in their insurance has made condos prices really spike up. But for the average homeowner who wants to live in an actual home, we're having the same problems with the insurance prices. The statistic that I found said that from 2021 to 2023, Homeowners insurance in Florida has gone up 19.8%. I can say I think mine has gone up more than that. And to put it into perspective a little bit more, the average American is paying $2,377 a year for homeowners insurance, and the average Floridian is paying $10,996. So three times in Florida, the average person in Florida is paying three times what the average person in America pays, more than three times, for homeowners insurance. We're starting to see a lot of stories, and like I said, I own several properties here in Florida myself. And if you don't have a mortgage, you're not required to carry insurance. And in Florida, the way it works is you have your regular homeowners insurance policy, and then you have a wind policy, they call it, which is if the wind from a hurricane blows your roof off or blows your house down. So you have two different insurance policies. So people who don't have a mortgage on their property, what a lot of them are doing is either canceling their insurance altogether and paying zero insurance and just self-insuring. If you're paying $10,000 a year for your homeowner's insurance and you take that $10,000 and you put it into its own account, in 10 years, you got $120,000 in there to make any repairs, So even these wind policies come with like a 3% deductible. So you might be $15,000, $20,000 out of pocket before that even kicks in. So if your roof blows off and it costs 20 grand for your roof and you had to pay the first 15 out of your pocket, it really makes it harder to pay all that money for the insurance. So I'm not advocating this. I'm just telling this is what a lot of people that I know are telling me they're thinking about doing is either getting rid of insurance altogether or at least getting rid of the wind policy. I think most of the people I know are going to wait until after this hurricane season. And maybe that's what everyone keeps saying is, I'm going to do it next year and I'm going to do it next year. And nobody actually has the stones to actually cancel it, because hurricane season, it comes every year and it lasts for 6 months, and it can be scary. So I don't know if people will actually do it or if they just want to talk a big game there. Okay, if you're still with me, thank you very much for watching this far. You have a wonderful, great attention span. Hopefully you're watching to this point still because it's been helpful and you're maybe learning something. I'm going to give you my actual numbers here. But before I do, I just want to mention I'm going to give myself a little sales pitch. I am a realtor here in the state of Florida. So if you're thinking about you might want to move to Panama City Beach or the 30A corridor around this area, you can get in touch with me. I can help you find your perfect retirement abode. Or if you want to go somewhere else in the state, I do have quite a few friends of mine who are realtors in various other markets in the state. I can maybe help hook you up so you're not just randomly trying to find some wacko person off of the internet. I can help you. You can hit me up in the comments down there. And if you decided because of this information that Florida sounds too scary and you're not going to move here, and I changed the course of your life, and then at least just give me that subscribe and a big like, and you can keep watching some of my other content. Now let's get into my actual numbers. Okay, let me set the stage again here. My house, this beautiful house that I'm sitting in right now, which you could also buy, it's for sale, is 2,166 square feet. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. I'm 1 block off of the beach. I'm right across the street from the beach, and I have a lake in my backyard. So my homeowner's insurance is $6,085 per year. That includes my wind and my regular homeowner's policy. And I also carry a flood insurance policy. I'm not required to carry flood insurance. I'm not in a flood zone, but a lot of people in Florida still carry flood insurance because if you get a massive water intrusion into your house from a hurricane, there's a big chance that the insurance carrier will say, well, that was from a flood, and they'll try to deny your claim. So a lot of people who are not in flood zones in Florida carry flood insurance. And I just paid my flood insurance policy yesterday, and I noticed it went from $800 a year up to $900 a year. So I had almost 10% increase in my flood insurance this year, which is supposed to be like backed by the government. I don't know. Anyway, that's my flood insurance is $900 a year. My property taxes on my house are $1,961. In Florida, we do have a homestead exemption for your primary residence. So it does give you, I think it's like a 20% break on your insurance that you can claim as only on your primary residence. So I can't claim a homestead on my rental properties, but on my primary residence I do, which does give me a savings on my property taxes. My car insurance, my wife and I, since we moved back from the Virgin Islands, we just have one car since neither one of us has a full-time job and we're not working, and it's been almost 2 years, so it's been working out just fine. So we have one car. It's a 2016 Subaru Outback, and the car insurance that we have is about $1,500 a year. And from everything I read online, it said that car insurance in Florida is about 30% higher than it is in the rest of the U.S. So you can kind of try to, if you have a 2023 Porsche, then you can just add 30% to whatever you're paying, and that's probably what you'll pay in Florida. But if you want to drive a sensible car, like a sensible guy like me, that's what I pay. And then I'll just talk quickly about my utility bills, because everybody's going to keep their air conditioner at a different level, and we did a super high efficiency remodel on this house. So my power bill is actually pretty low. It's usually $200 or under, but we'll go with $200 a month for my power. My water is about 40. My trash is about 30, and my Wi-Fi is about 40. So we'll call it $110 a month for the rest of my utilities. So that's $310 a month for all of my utilities. Okay, so if you add all that up, my homeowner's insurance, my flood insurance, my property taxes, my power, my utilities, all the cost that it takes to run this house that's not including my mortgage. That is a total of $12,666. And then if you add in my car insurance, you get a total of $14,166. So that's my housing expense plus my, again, you could call it my transportation expense, but it's really just my car insurance. I'm not going to go into my food budget because you and I probably don't drink the same kind of bourbon, and that can really affect your bottom line on your food and grocery budget and how much we go out to eat and all those things. Like you kind of get an idea of what you already spend on those things. And I think groceries and generally those things in Florida are about the same as anywhere else. And depending if you're going to be in Miami and you want to go out to eat every night, it's going to cost more than it is in the little beach town where I live. But if you want to live 15 minutes inland and not be as close to the beach and eat in the beachfront restaurants like I do all the time, then it's going to be less. So you're going to have to kind of, you can figure that one out for yourself. You can hit that thank you button down there to help me afford my next bottle of bourbon though. But this is the third video I've made on what it costs to retire somewhere based on actual numbers. I did a video on what it would cost to retire in Spain, where my wife's family is from, where we're thinking about possibly retiring at some point into Spain. And it's about, spoiler alert, it's about half the cost of what it is here. But I did a more detailed budget of my actual budget in Florida. And then I did a pretty detailed budget in Spain based on what her mom and her dad and her sister and some of her friends pay for everything over there. So if you're interested in retiring to Europe versus Florida, you can go watch that video. And I also did a video about retiring in Puerto Rico because I own property down there and I spend a lot of time down in Puerto Rico. So you can check out that video too. I'll link to some of them up here. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, don't forget, hit the like button, do the subscribe, do all the stuff you know you're supposed to do, and then go watch this video up here. It's the next one. You should watch that and then watch all my other videos.